Welcome to the Theatre Café Webinar, Johansen.
Thank you.
You are a playwright, screenwriter, you make cartoons or scripts for cartoons. You teach at the Norwegian Film School in Lillehammer. And I wanted to talk to you today about dramaturgy, first of all. I think we should start with the structure of story. When you write for young audiences, how do you think about dramaturgy or strategies for writing and producing material?
For me, writing for children is the same as writing for adults. So it's the same strategy, actually. And I don't know what kind of strategy I use, but it's for me. The most important thing is the contents, because if you have nothing to say, don't say it. And I'm not sure if I have a special strategy, actually.
But in terms of the content,
Yes.
where does it come from? Where do you find your content when you write?
Wow, from everywhere. Of course, when I get older, it seems to be more and more that I take stories from my own life, in a way. And when I look back now, I can see that the best things, in my opinion, that I've written is more or less based on things that really concern me or had some impact in my life. For instance, my father was a prisoner of war in Japan, and I had that story for many, many years, but I didn't dare to do something about it because it was too close to my life. So when I was about 40, I found out that I would do theater about that, and that was my entrance to the theater, because I could have some kind of distance to the story when I went into the theater, because I didn't know the theater. So then I would, if you see what I mean. And I also have another very, very important event in my life. I adopted a little girl from China. It's about 8 years ago. And before that, when we were waiting for the girl, I started to imagine how would life be having an adopted girl. Or I didn't know it was a girl. I did just knew that it was an adopted child. And so I started to imagine that, and that became a TV series, which is very, very close to my life. And so it can be external things that come in and say to me, like an imperative, tell that story. Or it can be things I read in the paper, or hear a story, or whatever. I'm hungry, always hungry. I'm trying to find stories everywhere. So I'm a story freak in a way, or addict. I'm collecting stories.
You've talked now about your father being a prisoner of war. That's quite a heavy subject matter. How do you approach that? How did you approach that in making it into a piece of theatre? Was that made for young audiences?
No.
That was for adults?
Adults.
Okay.
But in these days I'm making a comic book about the same subject, based on the play, actually. And that's hopefully will be also for young children, not the youngest, because it's quite bloody, and yeah, it's a story which is, I don't know. I actually had my children at that time. They were about 8 and 10 years, my older children. And they saw this play a couple of times, and they really, really enjoyed it, although it was really heavy stuff. What was the question?
Well, no, it's just how do you approach something that's that dramatic or something that's that kind of gruesome for a younger audience? Now that you're transporting this story into something that hopefully children will read, do you change it in any way? Do you tone down the violence of it?
Actually, no, I don't. I mean, children, they see all this gruesome thing on television, and I can't. This is peanuts compared to what you see on television. But I want to make it real in a way. But it's not like it's floating with blood and you have graphic torture scenes or something like that. But it's about a young boy actually who's coming in a very, very heavy dilemma in this prisoner of war camp in Japan. And his dilemma is so strong that he actually have to choose between to die or let X amount of people die instead of him. So he has this personal dilemma, and that can be, of course, really heavy to read about. But I don't censor myself.